Okay, let's just jump right into this because this one statistic
Uh,
from our source material it's genuinely shocking.
it
We're
is.
talking about learning, and the data says most people, and this is the vast majority, forget 95% of what they learn in just 1 month.
95%. I mean, just stop and think about that for a second.
It's crazy.
All those hours in meetings, reading reports, watching some dense online course, you're making notes, you're trying, and then 30 days later, poof, almost all of it is gone.
It's just so
I
demoralizing.
know.
It's the core problem, right? We're using these methods that just don't work.
They don't. And that's why we see these outliers, people who just seem to operate on a different level.
Right. The person who learns in 3 hours what takes everyone else 10.
And they actually remember it. The big example in our sources is this guy, Scott Young. What he did was, well, kind of phenomenal. He finished a 4-year computer science degree in one single year.
1 year.
And it wasn't a fluke. He then went on to learn multiple languages in just a few months. That kind of speed isn't about, some kind of genius brain power. It's a skill, a very specific, learnable skill.
And that is our mission for this deep dive. We're going to define and break down that exact skill set.
We're talking about meta learning.
The skill of learning how to learn. The goal here is to give you the practical steps to cut your learning time and make sure the knowledge actually sticks.
Exactly. We're going to shift from that passive way of thinking, just consuming information, and move towards something much more active, aggressive even.
Okay, so that brings us to the first big hurdle. This core misunderstanding almost everyone has about learning.
Right. It's the belief that learning just equals consumption.
If I just read more, watch more, listen to more.
It all just magically sink in. Yeah. But that's just fundamentally wrong.
It feels right, though. We feel productive when we're putting information in. But our
Mm.
sources are really clear, and this learning happens in two distinct phases.
And most of us completely ignore the second one.
What did
Okay, so phase one is consumption. That's the easy part. Reading, watching, listening.
The comfortable part.
Totally. But phase two is where the magic happens. That's
Yeah.
processing, applying, and this is the most important part, retrieving it later.
And if you don't do phase two,
Your brain basically says, okay, this info isn't important for survival, and it deletes it. That's where the 95% figure comes from.
I really like the analogy they used here with the brain as a muscle. It makes it so clear.
It's the perfect way to think about it.
You can stare at a dumbbell all day, but unless you actually lift the weight, unless you practice retrieval, the muscle doesn't get stronger.
Exactly. The more you force yourself to pull that memory out, the stronger that neural pathway gets. It's like sending a constant signal to your brain. Hey, it's important. Don't delete this file.
Okay, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
So where do we start? Before I even open a book or watch a video, what's the framework?
That's where meta learning really provides a structure. There are 3 core rules to follow before you even begin.
And rule one is understand the why.
Yes. And look, this isn't some vague self-help advice. It is a tactical imperative. Your reason for learning completely changes your strategy.
Give me an example.
Okay, are you learning Spanish for a 1-week vacation? Or are you learning it to translate legal documents?
Completely different goals.
Entirely. One requires conversational basics, the other requires deep grammatical knowledge. Knowing your why lets you cut out all the fluff right from the start.
Which leads right into the next rule, I'm guessing.
It does. Rule 2. Shortlist the minimum requirements.
So figure out the absolute least you need to know to get the job done.
Exactly.
But wait, doesn't that feel like cutting corners? If I want to do a deep dive, I want to learn everything.
See, it's not about cutting corners, it's about strategic focus. It's about efficiency. If you want to build an app, do you need to master 4 different coding frameworks or just one?
Just one, probably.
The sources give a great student example. Look at last year's exams, you'll see patterns.
Ah, okay, so it's about being smart with your energy. If 80% of the questions come from 3 chapters, you hammer those 3 chapters.
You focus your limited cognitive energy where it gives you the biggest return. That's how Scott Young did it. He wasn't wasting time on nice to knows. He focused on the need to knows.
And that focused plan then feeds into the last rule.
Rule number 3, choose active learning methods. This is where it all comes together. If learning happens in phase 2, the active phase, then your entire study plan has to be built around activity.
We've all done it, though. We read a chapter, highlight half the page, and think, job done.
That's just exposure. It's not learning. Active learning means you immediately follow up consumption with something that tests you, something that forces you to use the knowledge.
Okay, so let's get into the specifics. What are these high-impact techniques that force us into that active phase two?
Yeah.
The sources laid out a pretty clear schedule.
Yeah, a three-phase schedule. And this works for anything, a skill, an exam, whatever. Phase one is what we've talked about, consumption. You watch the video, you read the chapter.
The easy part.
Then phase two is practice and application. This is the heavy lifting. This is where most of the actual learning happens.
And this is where people get stuck. They feel confused. They hit a wall. They have what they think is a stupid doubt.
And they stop. But that confusion is the signal that your brain is actually building new connections. You have to push through it.
So you do the practice, and then what's phase three?
Phase three is retrieval. But critically, you schedule this for 4 or 5 days later. You have to give yourself time to almost forget.
So you're deliberately making it harder.
You are. You solve old problems, you try to explain the concept out loud. That forces your brain to work hard to retrieve it, and that's what makes it stick. All three phases, consumption, practice, retrieval, are equally important.
Right. And this whole structured approach is the fix for that depressing statistic we started with. The fact that in a 4-hour study session, most people are only effectively studying for less than an hour.
It's the textbook staring contest, right? You're there, but your mind is just somewhere else.
Totally. I've wasted so much time just sitting there, feeling guilty, while my brain was off daydreaming.
And that's where techniques like the Pomodoro method come in. The idea is simple. Short, intense bursts of focused works, say 25 minutes, followed by a scheduled break.
And scheduling the break is the key part.
It's huge. Because your brain knows a reward is coming, it doesn't need to wander off. It can commit to full focus for that short sprint because it knows rest is just around the corner.
And you can amplify that even more with something called the interleaving effect.
Ah, this is such a powerful one.
So instead of 4 hours on one subject.
You do, say, 2 hours on subject A, then you switch to 2 hours on subject B.
And why is that so much better?
Because it forces your brain to constantly switch contexts.
Yeah.
It has to actively pull up the right information for the new subject. It's like doing mental reps. And a cool side effect is that your brain starts to see connections between the different subjects.
Which you would never see if you studied them in total isolation.
Never. It creates a much richer, more flexible understanding.
Okay, so we've planned our learning. We're using active schedules. But how do we test ourselves?
Yeah.
How do we know if we really get it?
This brings us to what might be the ultimate test of understanding.
The Feynman technique. This is my favorite one. It is so simple, but it is brutally effective.
It's the best. The process is simple. Close your book, put away your notes, take out a blank sheet of paper.
And then try to explain the concept in the simplest possible terms.
As if you're explaining it to a smart kid. No jargon, no complicated language.
And the moment you get stuck, the moment you can't explain the next step simply.
That's it. That's the gap in your knowledge. That's what you need to go back and revise immediately. The core idea is just so powerful. If you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough.
It's a perfect diagnostic tool. Now, on top of that, we have all this new technology that can make this retrieval phase, well, easier to stick with.
The AI tools are a complete game changer for this. Take Google's Notebook AI. You can just upload all your notes.
You passive notes.
Exactly, and it'll summarize them, explain them back to you, and even turn them into an interactive Q&A session. It actively quizzes you on your own material.
And then there's Google's AI Studio, which the sources described as crazy.
It kind of is. You can basically have a live Google Meet call with an AI expert. You share your screen, your code, your spreadsheet, whatever, and you can ask it questions in real time.
So it's like having an on-demand tutor, 24/7.
It forces you to apply your knowledge and get immediate feedback, which is where that deep learning happens.
And of course, there's the classic tool for this, Anki.
The gold standard for spaced repetition. It's a flashcard app, but it's smart. It uses an algorithm to show you a card right before you're about to forget it.
So it's not random. It's strategically timed to force that retrieval muscle to work at the perfect moment.
It just ensures you're always focusing your effort on the information that's weakest in your memory. It's incredibly efficient.
So when you pull all this together, every single technique, every rule, it all points back to one central idea.
Activity. It's all about activity.
The person who puts in the most active effort is the one who learns the fastest and remembers the most.
Absolutely. The whole game is just about keeping your brain as active and engaged as possible.
Okay, so let's boil this down. Quick summary of the core actions you can take away from this. First, before you learn anything, define your why.
And then be ruthless about identifying the minimum required knowledge to achieve that why.
Second, change how you schedule your time. Use that three-phase structure: consumption, practice, and retrieval. And use focus techniques like Pomodoro or interleaving.
And third, constantly test yourself. Use the Feynman technique to find your weak spots and leverage modern tools like AI or Anki to make that retrieval practice consistent and relentless.
Which really brings us to the final thought we should leave people with.
Right, it's a mindset shift. If you genuinely want to save time and actually retain what you learn, you have to ditch that passive model.
The one that leads to forgetting 95% of everything.
You have to accept that learning isn't about the number of hours you put in. It's not about seat time. It's about the percentage of that time that your brain is actively working, struggling, retrieving.
So the goal should always be to find the methods that force that effort.
Yes. Because passivity is a guarantee of failure. Activity is where the real learning happens.